Board of Directors regular meeting, January 12th, 2015, 4 o'clock. Now we'll do the roll call.
Renee Plain. Jesse Dahme. Jonathan Boulware.
Here.
Stan Jones. Karen Abound.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Public comment, discussion. Seeing none, we'll move on to, for possible action, adoption of the agenda.
Public comment?
Yes, public comment, sorry. No.
Charlie Aboud. I'm here for my annual, let's see if we can get a football game between Carson High School and Reno High or Douglas High on a rotating basis on Nevada Day as a matter of procedure. We have a new director for the high school organization, and I've had an informal conversation with him, and he said it is definitely doable. I think it would be a great addition, and it is really what I consider a event that would be enjoyed by many, many people. And it renews an old rivalry between Carson High School, Reno High School, and still enjoys the rivalry between Douglas High School. So we could have a rotating basis, and even if we did a rotating basis with all the schools on that day, it would be a great asset for our state holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? All right, thank you. All right, now for possible action, adoption of agenda. Any changes?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Possible action, approval of minutes from December 8, 2014 board meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 8th, 2014 board meeting as published.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Possible action, approval of the 2015 monthly budget report. Joel.
All right. In your package, you have the 2014-15 fiscal year 15 master budget report. This is the adjusted budget we've talked about the last 2 months. The adjustments come with the fact that we've relocated. There's some costs now with rental. We're seeing some increase in our revenues. We've done a little bit of adjustment, not only throughout marking, but through all of our operating based on actual revenue and some additional new expenses. On the first page, up on the top is just for information on the carryover. The far right fiscal year 14 audit, that's what was reported in the audit as carryover. Far left is what we are projecting as carryover, and that'll change throughout the year, but we're always trying to keep it right about that $500,000 mark on our anticipated carryover at the end of the fiscal year. Going down the revenues, the middle column is the new revised projection. The far left column is the fiscal year 15 budget that was approved, and the right column are the actuals year to date. Revenues, the revenue stream is on room taxes through November, with the exception that they were still waiting on room revenue from 2 properties. There was a change in ownership. We're working with those 2 properties, and they will make good. We're going to continue to communicate with them. In fact, we talked with them within 15 minutes of the meeting, and they're aware by statute that they have a time period to pay us. So they're going to come in. But it's smaller properties, not really making an impact in the reports. Just want to make sure you understand that there's a little revenue still to come in. If you look at the revenue throughout the bottom, we're at 50% of the year on this report. Revenues are 57%, 57.6 for revenues coming in for room tax. V&T, same thing, 57.6. So we're ahead of the game in our revenue. The changes, we had budgeted $1.4 million. If you see the bottom, 1.462,832. We're now projecting that the revenue for room tax is going to come in, all revenue coming in at $1,528,060. So the remaining balance with that new adjusted, the actual we've spent is 870, so we have just a little less than that same amount for the rest of the year. So,
And Joel, I wanted to note, too, that your gift store revenues are over 70%. That's excellent.
yeah, definitely, based on the move downtown. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, continuing down, if you look at the adjustments to the revenue, the adjustments are the intergovernmental expenses. That's everything from the Nevada Commission on Tourism to the interlocal agreement with the city, the V&T payments. But going down, same thing. There's some where you pay the first quarter, but there's a couple of months we're still in, but they're just reflected on revenues. But we're showing right now that we're at 58.5%, 50% of the adjustments. I'm sorry, 29.4, 58.5 with those adjustments on our revenue. The bottom one is the expendable revenue. This is when you take into account the carryover from the audit from fiscal year 14. Expendable revenue, the adjusted amount went up from 1.302 to 1.324 for just the Visitors Bureau and incrementally up for both the V&T. Bottom line, with the carryover, we're at 74.2% of revenue and 2.2 million up to 2.3 million. So we're certainly seeing more room tax revenues come in. You'll see that, with that, there's some expenses that we've incurred with our operating costs. So any questions on revenues?
I'm just going to comment on the revenues. So typically, the July through December period is always higher just because July, August, September are the busier months compared with May and June. But what I did see in your other report, executive report, we had a great November, probably the best November in 15 years I've been here because of what we had, the events we had, the soccer and the swimming, right? So, and now the next half is the legislature. So it's icing on the cake. So are you going to revise the revenues projection based on these two things? We're going to leave it like that?
I tried to stay conservative with my revenue projections. When I looked at the beginning of the year, I was projecting a 5.8% on my high end. I went ahead and went in with a 2.8% increase in my budgeted numbers, but if you look at it, we're actually at 5.16 on the all revenues. Total revenues top 13, we're actually at 5.68. So we're right there where I was thinking we would be on the high end, and we're probably going to surpass that. We have another month, and I can tell you so far the properties reporting in December, they're even going up. They're higher than they were last month, certainly higher than last year, because December really normally falls off. So no, we're looking great. And I agree, we're going into an LCB year for the rest of this fiscal year. I will continue to report where we're at within our revenues. I won't adjust the budget for the state until May. So when we get to May, I'll do my final adjustments to the budget, report that then to Department of Taxation, and that's what we'll go through the end of the year with. Okay. Second page, once again, these are some of the interlocal agreement expenses, so adjustments to revenue, but they do show up as an expense. You've got the interlocal agreement. We're at 59.9% at 50%. The reason why is we agreed as a board 2 meetings ago to go ahead and pay the additional direct costs for sports tournaments. We didn't augment that back to last year because the books are closed out. It's just an expense for this year's interlocal agreement. That's why we're at 59.9%. 32% on the second one for the V&T capital projects. The 50,000 year-to-date actual in the third column, that is half of the 100,000 that we budget for the bond payment, and the city's only asked for 50,000 year-to-date. The next one, the 32,078, is that's the interest payment. So we pay the interest payment ahead of time, and then we do the rest of the payment at the end of the year. So that's why it reflects at 10.9%. Going down now into salaries and wages, bottom line, we're at 45.3% at 50% of the year. With benefits and the unemployment claims that we incurred during the fiscal year 15, we're still at 45%, 50% of the year reporting, so we're doing really well. Any questions on that page? Okay. Getting into operating expenses now. For the professional services, we're at 52.8% reporting, still 69,875 year-to-date actual. We've changed it from $120,000, which was the approved budget, to $132,000. There's just some additional costs, and those are related to the contractual agreements and contractual employees. And once again, just based on projects, and we're a little heavy up front also, so I'm not concerned that we're at 52%. We do a lot of our design, our photography, and everything at the beginning of the year, and we use all of those pieces throughout the remaining of the fiscal year. Property services, this is where you'll see, one of the biggest changes. We had budgeted $22,380. We've adjusted that to $72,627 with the rent and some of the additional expenses, but we're still at 43.2%, 50% reporting, so we're doing well there. Other services, that's just your insurance, the travel one we have for lodging. Year to date, we're $8,101 for other services. That's 53.5%. We do have some travel that Kyle will talk about a little bit later. But we've budgeted for all three of the trips that we're taking. Marketing and advertisement, 42% at current year, 50% reporting. We've stayed the same, $104,800 is what was approved and reported to the state. Operating supplies, we've actually dropped this a little bit. This is one of those where we needed to realize some of the savings based on some other expenses. We dropped from $78,000 down to $74,892. This takes into account all of those monthly payments, everything that we do, and I'm confident we'll get through the end of the year, but we are at 54.1% at 50% reporting. And utilities, 48.7%. For all services and supplies, all expenses and operating, we're at 48.3%, $196,945 year to date, budget of $408,113. Any questions on that page?
My question is on operating supplies 0625. We are at almost 51,000 in 6-month period. Is that you have only 23,000 left in that? Is that enough to cover the next 6 months?
Yeah, in fact, preparing this budget for the meeting, Chris and I had an opportunity to sit down and look at everything that we would typically spend in the second half of a fiscal year. And once again, it's one of those that have a lot of upfront heavy costs. So yeah, I'm confident that we'll be fine. In fact, we're okay there. Even though we are at 63%, at 50%, we'll be fine. Yeah.
What is store inventory? The one 0697.
0697, it actually comes in from the visitor center, so that would be everything from the shirts, jackets, hats, everything that we sell inside the store. So we budget $20,000. Year to date, we spent $8,123. The likelihood is, we may spend another $4,000 throughout the year, so there'll be some realized savings there.
So you can move that money?
Yeah, it'll all bottom line. And the last page on the report is just once again everything carrying over. First column is for fiscal year 15 budget with the new projections so that you can see where we're at. It's just a combination of everything we reported on the first 3 pages to show the potential carryover expendable revenue, and breaks it out between the 3 budgets. In yellow, you have the Visitors Bureau budget, and then the V&T capital in the blue, purple, and the red would show the capital V&T Capital Projects Fund. So, and that's the one. The last one is the one that we do the $100,000 carryover. Everything else will come out of the V&T Capital for the bond payment. So, any questions? I can tell you that it's nice to see that with the increases and the fact that we did have some expenses coming into the new location. One thing that I did break out in the report was the $100,000 that we had come in for the buyout of our old property. There were some upfront one-shot expenses. I've taken those actually out of, and is that on the top of page 2? You can see the $100,000. This doesn't actually reflect in our budget. The rest of it will go into the additional carryover, which will put us upwards of $550,000 for carryover projected at the end of the year. We spent $28,383 for the move. And what that was spent on was we got some new computers that we would not have if we didn't sell the property. We had to do quite a bit of signage. We had, cash registers, the square unit for the store, displays for the store. So all of the expenses pertaining to moving into the new location, all said and done, cost us $28,383.
Hey, Joel, where's that $71,000? Where's that reflected in the budget number? Or
The 71,000 is not projected in it as a revenue right now. It's going to go into the general fund budget, so it'll show as a expendable revenue tied into the carryover from fiscal year 14. Yeah, so it is not part of the revenue projections. Yeah, so there'll be an additional 71,000 in our revenues.
Joel, under what line item is the Willys that we purchased?
The Willys is actually, there's portions of it that we've tied, no, actually, we didn't tie any of it to a market or to a grant project. It's all marketing. And the final payment, you'll see when we go through the bills on the next portion of the final payment for the painting and everything, we've taken care of all of our expenses. So we own it, it's done, it's ready, and it's bought and paid for, and we stayed within that budget amount. Okay. Any questions?
We're going to have quite a little surplus, aren't we?
Well, I guess if you say surplus, I would say that we're finally, for the second year, we're going to look at being in the black. We haven't had an opportunity to be in the black in a little over a decade, almost two. I'm still not comfortable really saying that we have a surplus when we have a carryover of only $500,000. I would say that, to be comfortable, we need to be able to have at least a full year within our carryover. So I would think that over the next year, we need to get that back up to about $750,000. And at that time, I think we would have the opportunity to start expanding on what we can potentially do and how we can market Carson City. Because I would like to do some different things, but boy, I tell you, tapping into that carryover just the first or second year that we're in the black, that's a little alarming to me.
No, and I'm not implying that. I'm just thinking we need to establish some goals so we can start pursuing those, and it's easy to spend money if you don't have goals or projects, and that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, and I'll touch on it a little bit. I have a non-disclosure on a couple of events. One in particular, I'm bringing somebody in at the end of this month, and that'll take us to have an investment in a pretty significant event that will bring in thousands of visitors over a course of 3-4 days for a major competition. And that'll take a little bit of buy-in for us. It will mirror the business model that we put together with All World Sports, but it'll be a single event that could account for upwards of 3,000 visitors over the course of 3 days, and that's just the competitors. So, and we're the final selection. They're coming in because they have picked Carson City, so as long as everything bottom lines within the budget, which will have to come out of this year, even though we're looking at a fiscal year or a calendar year 2016 event, we need to buy into it this year. So, yeah. Seeing no other questions, that's it. We cover the master. Everything else is tied into all the individual reports. We've included grants, everything separated out in every one of their individual budget reports.
Before I go for a motion, any comments from the audience about the budget?
I move to approve the year-to-date fiscal year 15 budget report as published.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. Motion passes. Next up, approval for ratification of monthly bills.
Okay. Once again, in your packet, you'll see a listing of all of the monthly bills for the last month reporting December. Your first sheet was actually one of two, and these are the checks that were cut in December. Going down the list, let's see, we'll go over the large items. The top two are just the credit card payments, which will go over all of the credit card invoices on the second page. Continuing down the list, most of it are just the standard monthly, everything from independent contractors, 381, 454, First Choice, we're paying for all of the coffee and the service that we're providing to the customers in the store. Everything's small going down to the Reno Gazette Journal. We have $1,199. That's for the Buy Local campaign that we put out that we were a part of, which was, I think, very successful. The office equipment rental, $2,655. That's from October 29th through 11/28, and that's for the RICO for our printing machine. And this is the final payment. This was the refinish work, paint work, glass work, everything for the Rupert's Auto Body. So this is the last payment for the completion of the Willys project for $6,120.50. And I have to say, the Willie's project has turned out to be amazing for us. I can't wait to take it. I think I'll be the first one. I'm going to take it to the Santa Clara show and park it right at the front because the booth is a shared booth, so I can't bring it in and take over the entire booth, but everybody will walk by it when they show up. And that's it on, if there's no questions on the checks that were cut.
Question, where's the lease payment? For the building?
They're a little slow on the billing, so we've been doubling up the.
Yeah, so on the next one, you'll see 2 months
Yeah,
payment
yes.
for the rent, yeah. Okay, on your second page, you have the detail of all the credit card transactions. Going down the list, you go down a little bit and you'll see the $6.99, that's actual 2 payments, December and January for our mobile app. And they're doing significant changes right now on the platform for the mobile app, and I'm excited to hopefully bring those out over the next month. Going down, special events, these are everything tied to the social media symposium, and Kyle's already gone over some of the numbers. We certainly had a great event and tied our at Carson City, visit Carson City, and the social media symposium throughout the entire social world. We've got $502. That's the computer monitor. We bought 2 computer monitors as part. We buy the computers actually through the IT department, through the city for the best pricing, but we need external monitors. We do a docking station, and we have to have dual monitors because we're running for all the graphics and spreadsheets. Continuing down, we've got advertising, the $651 for the nailer.com. Actually, I looked that one up. I'm trying to remember what I'll come back to the nailer.com. I looked it up right before the meeting just to make sure. The others, we've got $2,625. This is we purchased ahead of time the lift tickets for the ski packages. Those that don't sell, they'll buy back from us, but we pay them up front. And then $241 for books. Once again, this is just store inventory, and that's that 0697 we referred to earlier for stock and inventory. Do you remember what the name? Oh.
That's what, for the Canadian, but that was back in the.
Yeah, it's a payment that's showing up again. It must be the second or the final payment. That was actually the advertisement we did for the NTA Canadian market, is the nailer.com. So, and I'll verify that if there's any difference on that, I'll bring it back. But any questions on the credit card transactions? We did have, in the credit card transaction, I believe that there is one this month for food, and there was a meeting with a lodging property at a restaurant in Carson City. So.
Joel, how many of the Heavenly Passes have you sold?
We almost had a taker, but it hasn't happened yet.
One thing I can say that we're doing is Kyle's working with, and I'll let him touch on it a little bit in his report, but we are using the ski stay and play packages as a new marketing engine. It's not using search engine optimization, but we're using it as a campaign over the course of the next month to get in the face of people to see if it works. We're using that as a campaign. So the nice thing is, coming into the stay and play packages, no risk for us in buying those. We're not going to eat any of the ski packages, but yep, Kyle's we're going to have to promote it. We've got a lot of snow and it's going to work. So any other questions on any of the monthlies? Yeah.
Could we come up with something different than operating supplies for those 2 luncheons? I just like to have more transparency. I don't care what you spend it for. I just like to be specific.
Absolutely. In fact, in the backup, when I go to, whether I'm on traveling or at meetings, it'll actually have every attendee that was there, what was bought. We break out the entire invoice for each one of those as an expense. Yeah, but I can certainly, I'll bring the backup for those when we have
Or
them.
just say lunch.
Lunch, okay,
That's what it was.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep, all right.
All right, any more questions from the board? Any questions from the audience about the monthly bills? All right.
Make the motion? I move to approve the ratification of the CCVB monthly bills for December 2014.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, non-action items. You're up, Joel.
All right, Executive Director's Report. Visitor Center activity, the door counter that we installed back in October, on the 29th of October. We had that 1,024 people come through during our reporting time of 12/9 through 1/12. So that's a total of 3,668 since we had the door counter. In the second graph, you'll see where some of those visitors are coming from in groups and also in total number of visitors. This is one of the months that we were very heavy in Nevada out of the region. So we had a lot of people coming into Carson City from outside the region, but who were actually from Nevada. California led the way in second, and going down international market, that's just everything outside of the scope of everything listed. So, although the numbers did drop down a little bit from, our October numbers, that's a lot of people coming into to a visitor center in December. So, second page. This is where we get into, as Jesse mentioned earlier, the numbers. I have to say, November was absolutely amazing. Yes? Which one? Oh, here, let me grab these real quick. I'll wait for the second page here for you real quick. I think that would be because you picked up your packet early. We finished the numbers actually the day of the meeting, so these are hot off the press. Okay, going into the second page in our occupancy reports. Occupancy rate for the top 13 properties November, we were at 38.95%. That's up 0.71% from same November of 2013 and down 6.47%. Year to date, occupancy, top 13 properties, we're at 53.74, down 2.51. Once again, that's, if you reflectively, we were down a couple of months. I think June was one of those that were down, but we were bouncing back up in occupancy rate for top 13 properties. Occupancy rate, top 5 properties, we were at 54.11% for November. That's up from 49.15 last year and 45.31 in 2012. That's an increase of 10% over 13 and 19.41% over 2012. Average room rate. Once again, we've talked in length about the importance of having that average room rate, the ADR continuing to go up, and being able to see that ADR staying throughout the shoulder season has played a big role in continuing to have those revenues increase. But when you look at the average room rate for the top 13 properties, November came in at $69.73 for the top 13. That's up from $51.73 last year and $52.89 from the year before. That's an increase of 34.79%.
Joel, I want you to check that number, 34%.
It's there. We went through every single report that came in from every lodging property. Absolutely just.
No, so because top 5 was only 15%, so it means the other 8 raised the rates by 50%.
The mid-level properties have to have been accounting for all the it's based on revenues. I know occupancy is going down because ADR is going up and our revenues are up so high. I went through every single formula 3 times, just amazing increases. So going down year to date, we're at $64.30, $64.30, up from $57.69, which is an increase of 11.47% over 13 and an increase of 9.97% from 12. Average room rate, top 5, we're at $81.67, up from $71.17 last year and up from $68.53 in November of 2012. That's an increase of 14.75%. and up 19.17% over 2012. Year to date, up 11.84 over 13 and up 10.15 over 12. So year to date average room rate for the top 5 properties is in at 81.18. That's up from 72.59 from last year. Total revenues. Total revenues for November 2014 came in at $945,868.80. That's up from $794,502 in 2013. That's an increase of a little over 19%, and it's up 22.42% from 2012. Year to date, we're at $13,656,946. That's an increase of $665,386.83 over last year, coming in at 12.9. That's an increase of 5.12%, and we're up 11.7% from 2012. Total revenue for the top 13 properties. We came in at $911,520.43, and that's up from $748,965 in 2013 and up from $728 in 2012. Once again, up significantly, 21% and 25% between 13 and between 2013 and 2012. That's up, year to date, $12,877,417.60, up 5.68% over last year and up 12.5% over 2012.
Joel, the revenue is occupancy times rate, right? Right, RevPAR. RevPAR multiplied by the number of rooms. So the higher the RevPAR, the higher the revenue, because you multiply by the number of rooms. On page 2, lodging activity, total 13 properties, our occupancy went by less than 1% higher, 0.71%. Our rate went up 35%. So it means our total revenue should have been up close to 35%, and it's up 19%. So I think the rate went up about 18%. So we should check that, because 35% is not possible.
I'll double check the formulas. They're built in as lock formulas, but I will double check them. In fact, we'll go over them first thing in the morning, but I double checked. I yesterday coming in, went through every single formula again, because the numbers are just too high. But then again, the revenues are actual reported revenues, and we're at 18% increase. Yeah, reflective. So yeah, I'll check occupancies.
The rate should be about 18% increase, because our occupancy was flat.
Yeah, and the one thing I can tell you, and we went over this, and I'll talk about we had a lodging property meeting. Revenues are revenues. We know exactly what comes in on our revenues. The one thing that we have the most difficult time doing on those reports, some of the properties don't report accurate occupancies. It's tough for them to understand available rooms versus rooms that are 28-day plus. So that's what actually I'm confident the formulas are correct, but going back through all of the forms, so that's why I was going through every one of the properties to double check the numbers that they were reporting on. There was properties reporting more room nights than rooms available. So yeah, I'll go back through all of the forms. So no, I understand exactly what you're saying. Okay.
No, my problem is not this year. My problem will be next year, when you see 34% increase, and next year you have a negative 2%. It's going to look really bad.
So I think we left off at the total revenue for the top 5 properties. I think that's page 4. Top 5 properties, we came in at 654, 889, 654,000. That's up from 555,000 last year, up from 542,000 the year before. So that's once again a 17.89% increase in revenue and a 20.63% increase from 2012 in revenue. I mean, that alone is an increase of $355,000 on the year to date. Year to date, just top 5 properties were just over $9 million. Trailing 12, we're at November, $14,288,432. Same time period, 2013, trailing 12, we were at 12.8, and just over $12 million in 2012. And once again, that's indicating an 11.5% increase over 13, 16% increase over 2014. So, with the occupancy, and I tell you, getting a handle on the occupancy reports, probably when I'm a year and a half in, and trying to figure out how other communities report it, there is no consistency. Keeping the 28-day plus rentals out of occupancy or keeping them into occupancy, other communities are doing it differently. Bottom line, revenue. The revenue's there. The revenue's up 18%. We'll get a handle on the properties reporting occupancy. I'll kind of touch on it now, unless there's any other questions on just the numbers here. It should have a positive impact on the per diem, because when you look at your mid-level, the mid-level properties, there's 2 communities in our study, but as Carson City mid-level properties keep their average daily rate up, then the likelihood is the per diem rate will go up also. So this should have a positive effect on our per diem rates. That being said, we did have an opportunity to have our first quarterly lodging property meeting, and it was one of the best attended property meetings we've had in a couple of years. We tried last year and had a failed attempt at getting the properties to come in. I'm making every effort to make sure that all properties, large and small, have a voice. They all understand that we're working for them, and they're a part of our future, they're part of our direction, and I needed everyone to understand how we're marketing for the betterment of not only the properties but Carson City. We did touch on the fact that we are going to be changing the reporting form for the occupancy. It will go online. We'll have a downloadable PDF. Chris and I are going to be working with the finance department and the treasurer's office to put those payments online. And once they go online, that's the only way the properties will be able to make their payment. They're not going to be doing the checks. We won't have to chase down checks. We're not going to be waiting for checks. And the treasurer's department will then go after the late payments for us. So it just will simplify the process, not only for us, but also for the lodging properties. And the forms will simplify that occupancy reporting. Some of the forms are common. There's some that'll come in and they'll have very few room nights and they report 97% occupancy. There's no rhyme or reason because they're doing their own math on it, and we're gonna bring it to 2015 and we're gonna have it online and we'll put all the formulas in for them, so we'll get a handle on the occupancy.
Yeah, what you can do is also put hard numbers for the number of rooms available for a month, so they cannot change it. All they have to put it is the number of rooms rented.
Yeah, number of rooms rented, number of rooms. I mean, we don't need the rooms unavailable other than for the occupancy, because we're going to base the occupancy on rooms that were truly available. We set the hard number in based on how many rooms they have on their property. They tell us how many rooms they had out of commission. We know how many rooms are available. That's not making the report on some of them. So yeah, we will definitely clean it up, and I'll be working with the properties that are on the board to make sure that it's a form that's simplified, easy for all properties to use. Okay.
And 2% also will become a more, like 15th is the cutoff, then they get 2% or not, because that midnight of 15th is the cutoff rather than you chasing the post dates on the envelopes.
And I have to tell you, there's a lot of questions because although the check will come in 2 days, 3 days after, depending on, holiday weekend, but it is post dated on that date and the 2%. So yeah, it'll simplify the entire process for us. Continuing on my reports, the grants. We did actually receive grants from Nevada Commission on Tourism pertaining to marketing. We have 3 grants that were awarded for this year. The ending date for the grants, these are projects that will end June 30th of this year. These are some expenses that we were already either incurring, that we were certainly going to be putting out, so this is really going to help our bottom line. We're going to be doing the reprint of the visitor's guide. You have a handout that has the Carson City Visitors Planner. A little bit different than the visitor's guide that we have on the back counter that we're putting out to the certified folders. That's actually a downsized visitor's planner that is in a rack form. This is the full catalog size. We partnered with the Nevada Appeal this year. Nevada Appeal is going to do for us the same thing that they do with the Chamber of Commerce, the In Focus. They're going to produce 15,000 copies at no cost to us. They go out, they market, they solicit sponsorships. They in turn work with us for content and imaging so that it stays consistent with our brand. All said and done, at the end of February, we'll have 15,000 copies for us to distribute. So we're no longer paying $20,000. This is one of those projects we'd pay $20,000 if it were not for sometimes a matching grant, but the minimum we would spend is $10,000 a year, and this will be at no cost. So, but there is a cost incurred for the photos and for some of the content writing. That grant is going to help cover that for us. The nice thing is when we're developing content that'll be used in a visitor's planner, that same content is used in our newsletters, that same content and photos are used online in our social media, so it'll help across the board, but it'll be earmarked for the reprint of the visitor's guide. Second one, or same thing, we continue to do updates, SEO to our website, updates to the aesthetic appeal of our website, e-blasts, and we've got a grant to help pay for some of that for the end of this fiscal year, $5,000. and I put in for one special event, the Motor Officer Challenge with the Carson City Sheriff's Office. It's an event that's been in Carson City for quite some time. We're going to help promote that and build it into a much bigger event this year. It does bring in, anywhere from 60 to 100 room nights, and we're hoping to increase that by promoting and marketing it with them. Total, we ended up with $17,000 in matching grants that were already part of the budget that we are spending, so none of this is new. So that's certainly going to help us out.
Hey, Joel, is it once a year that we apply for grants, or is it twice a year?
There's actually two different cycles that Nevada Commission on Tourism have. There's grants pertaining to special projects. One of those is actually going to be ending in the June. We're still working on the signage. We did the NV 150 banners downtown. That is a project that was part of an NCOT grant. That actually happens back in December, the application process that comes through. The second cycle that we put in for was the cycle pertaining to marketing. So there's projects related to tourism, and then there's marketing grants. So those two cycles, and we put in for both. And we've received grants in both cycles this year. Okay.
Joel, I have a question on the flyer from the Nevada Appeal. You had mentioned 15,000 copies. On the actual sales sheet, it says 10,000 copies. So are you getting an overrun of 5,000 for the Visitors Bureau?
Correct, yeah. The agreement was an additional 5,000 for us for a total of 15 for distribution. And in addition to that, which it doesn't list on here, that will also give us an online PDF downloadable version of the Visitor's Guide, and we'll put it into a format that you can actually thumbnail through the entire piece on our website.
Do you know, is the Nevada Appeal going to house it on their website for a portion of time, or?
Yeah, they are. They're going to house it not only on theirs, but also their partners, so it'll be on the Tahoe.com, and yeah, so pretty big bang for the buck, the fact that we're not having to pay for it, and it's a great partnership. Looking forward to seeing the piece, and they've done a fantastic job for the In Focus for Ronnie and the Chamber of Commerce. So I know that the quality's there. Okay, that's really all for me. I'm going to pass it on to Kyle if there's no questions of me. Okay, Kyle.
Did you want me to talk about the USA Today and everything?
You know
Obviously?
what? No, I'm gonna go ahead and
we're gonna
start that one.
take this one.
Although Kyle's going to have to take quite a bit once I talk about it, as everyone's aware now, we're out. We're in people's faces. We've been nominated over the course of the last year for a couple of different things now. Through our rebranding effort. The idea of rebranding and how we market ourselves was to make sure that there was an awareness of what we were about, what Carson City was. Doing the old traditional marketing of doing printed pieces and putting them in certified folders up in Tahoe and Sacramento, although it gives visitors information that are already here, the rest of the world needs to know about us, and that's what we've been doing. We are out getting in people's faces and becoming friends, and people understanding, well, with that awareness, we've started to be nominated. One of the first ones, we were in nominated in the top 10 outdoor recreation locations in the United States from Outdoor Magazine. And the last one, which was the USA Today Reader's Choice, they get 20 state capitals. They select those 20 state capitals based on an expert panel. That expert panel, through their travels, the fact that they're tied into the tourism industry, they nominate 20, and then the 20 go out to the ether world. We then had a chance. We were notified late November, early December that we were nominated. We were one of those 20. It became an amazing grassroots effort. Kyle, that day, actually had a chance to sit down with the Reno Tahoe territory. That's the group between Tahoe, Gardnerville, all of the partners in tourism in the area, made sure everyone was aware so that they could start promoting it as soon as Kyle sent it out. Next day, we started the campaign, and we had some people in this community and people outside this community that did phenomenal things. A few of them that I would like to recognize, the Nevada Day Inc., which is the group now that's doing fundraisers throughout the year. They're very tied into their social media and have, some followers. They did a great job. We also had ties into, Carson City Picks. Carson City Picks was honestly sometimes my daily reminder. I know that I had a chance to do my part. I had 3 devices, I always do, And all three of them had an opportunity to have a vote every single day. And some of those reminders were coming from the Post, the daily post that Joe Reinbolt does with Carson City Picks. I want to thank him, certainly kept Carson City residents in tune to voting every day, which really allowed Kyle to focus on everything else. And everything else is big. We were up against some capital cities that have social media. Some of them have a Facebook followers of 250, 260,000. And we're not supposed to be able to compete with that. We really can't. But because our followers are so engaged and our influencers, like Nevada Inc. and Carson City Picks and Carson Now and all of them, Nevada Appeal blew it up all over their social media. It became a community grassroots effort. We kind of dropped between 1 and 2, dropped to 3 one time in that first week, and then we took that #1 spot and we never looked back. And we separated ourselves from the pack. In fact, when they put out the announcement that we were named the #1 capital city destination by USA Today, it was a sizable margin from Juneau, Alaska's #2. We kicked butt. What that is, in my mind, it starts with rebranding that we've done, creating an awareness, but it's pride. It's the pride in our community. If visitors that were voting on this, when we're sending out information, people have followed us on social media, they come to Carson City, they're like, wow, this is great. We want to be friends with you on our Facebook, send us information. It starts at the restaurant. It starts with the waiter, the waitress. It starts with the front counter at the lodging property. It starts with the taxi cab driver. When our community has the same sense of pride that we all have, and they're aware of the things to do in this community, visitors leave with a better experience. This is a win for everyone. Everyone in our community needs to pat themselves on the back for this win. This is what it's about. This is why Carson City has the pride. It became a state competition also. Our entire state, Nevada Commission on Tourism, Travel Nevada, Reno Tahoe Territory, the Carson Valley Visitors Authority, everybody jumped on board, which is key because when you're trying to compete with, let's say, Denver, Colorado with 64,000 followers just on one of their social media platforms, we needed the 120,000 from Nevada Commission on Tourism. We needed the 200,000 from RTT. That's how we can get out in the face. Kyle will touch on some of the numbers. Our outreach was significant for the fact that we only have 2,000 people that have liked our Facebook page. We had some posts that were reaching 6,000 plus people. This was a great campaign. I've already ordered the plaques, the banners, our table runners. When I show up to the Santa Clara show, everybody that walks in that travel show will know we're #1. We are the capital city that you must see if you're going to travel. So, outstanding. Thank you, Carson City community. Thank you, everybody that influenced everyone to stay on and vote. Absolute Carson City pride, battle-born pride. So, all right, Kyle, I took most of your thunder.
All right. So yeah, I think it was cool that at our very last meeting was the day where we got nominated. It was kind of like that last statement that we made before we closed the meeting, and then from that point, like I think we were third at that meeting, and we got to first the very next day and didn't look back. So it was just really fun to watch that happen. In regards to new things, since the announcement that we won, we got an email the very next day from Google. Saying congratulations on your win. We've got this new technology that we're pioneering, and we would like Carson City to be a part of that. It's called the Google Trekker, which is essentially the same 360-degree camera that they used on the cars to drive around and do the street view on Google Earth. Well, now they're mapping all the off-road trails and all the sites that you can't see from a car. So what that means is well, we don't really know what that means because our conference call with Google is on Wednesday, and that feels really cool to say that we have a conference call with Google. But from what I can tell from the videos, there's really only been about 10 or 12 locations around the world that have had this, including the pyramids, the canals in Venice, Bryce and Zion, the beaches in Florida. So we're really kind of in this new elite group trying this out. But we're talking about having a 40-pound backpack with a huge 360-degree camera on it, where we are going to get to go ahead and photo document all of our trail system, and it very much is a result of, billing this and marketing us as an outdoor recreation location, So that's really exciting. I can't wait till Wednesday to get that call at 1 o'clock and, really figure out what they have in store for Carson and what we can do with this. And actually really excited to reach out to our outdoor influencers, and give them the opportunity to wear that backpack and be a part of it and actually document the experience. So having, our marketing team there videoing them while they're videoing, to really promote this opportunity, because it's just really cool that Google reached out to us because of what we've been doing. So that's probably the biggest new thing that's been going on. Our winter newsletter is coming out this week. So we finished all the articles with the local personalities, promoting the ski packages, promoting the upcoming events, the same format that we did last time. So this quarter's newsletter is going to be Dina Hoover, one of our local artists, Court Cardinal from Casino Fandango, and then Matt Bartek from the Wheelhouse, the new business that opened up. So those are 3 great articles about local personalities that are going on. So keep a look for that getting released this week. Talking about the ski packages, really the Heavenly just moved their prices up to full price. So the ski packages, although we've been promoting it for about a month, they're really becoming, valid as of like Christmas, because nobody's going to buy our package when Heavenly's discounting it so much on their own. But they are up to full price. We have been getting a lot of click-throughs on the bit.ly link that we've made that package, so people are clicking and looking at it. I'm just assuming they're waiting for the right moment when the ski's right and the timing's right to go ahead and make that purchase. We have had a few calls on it, though. We are doing a new marketing experiment around that, which is remarketing to people who have shown interest on other websites and through other searches in ski packages or Heavenly winter ski vacations. And the program that we're using is when somebody is identified as being into this, when they go to another website, our ad for our Heavenly ski vacation will pop up right there on the new website that they go to. So they're getting now frequency, not just from our website, not just from our social media, but now we're reaching out into other websites and putting ads onto those websites strictly based off of targeting the people who have already looked for that stuff. So to see our ad, you will have already looked up a Heavenly winter vacation. You'll have already priced stuff out, and then so the program's going to recognize that and target our ad to them. And that actually has been going on for 1 week. So on Thursday, we get our first report to see really how that went. And apparently, from what the guy said, the numbers are far above average for what normally something like this. So I'll be excited to report that on our next meeting. We do have some travel shows coming up. So like Joel said, he'll be down in Santa Clara February 7th and 8th with the Willies. I'll be in Portland, Oregon, February 21st and 22nd for the Portland Golf Show and the Divine Nine. And then Chris is going down for the RTT booth on also the February 21st and 22nd, and that's down in Los Angeles. So February is going to be a big travel month, getting out to our feeder markets. And then finally, next week on the 21st, we're having our next marketing team meeting. And Stan, I'm glad you made that comment about having a plan to spend money, so you're not just spending it willy-nilly. That's actually what the goal of this next marketing meeting is, because we've accomplished so much so quick. We're going to sit down and have our own little strategic planning and kind of 1 year, 3 year, 5 year vision for the Visitors Bureau, and then the next meeting after that, we'll be reporting those to you, so you're aware of the long-term plan for the Visitors Bureau. But other than that, I believe that's all I've got. Any questions?
I would like to add to Kyle's report. As far as content, one of the things that we were struggling with over the last year was creating the content for press releases to send out to press. One change that has been made, we contract through Nevada Photo Source with Kat Allison. Kat's built a team within Nevada Photo Source, and I'm happy to announce that Terry Vance will be writing and creating our content for us moving forward. So we'll finally be sending out the press releases that the newspapers are looking for, and it'll be a familiar face on them, familiar name. So looking forward to having that. The same thing is she'll address the content so that it's consistent throughout all of our campaigns.
So Terry Vance is also the person who wrote the article about in Nevada Appeal, right?
Correct.
Kyle, about the ski packages.
Yes.
I think the hotels, the lodging partners have pretty much given their best offer. Is it the distance? Is it the lack of snow? Is it people don't know about Carson City yet that we are so close? What is?
Well, I think definitely this is the first time we've ever branded ourselves as being a destination for skiing. So a lot of it is just getting the awareness in the customers' minds. I think we did a good job putting it out when we did, before the snow actually started getting deep, so that people are getting aware of it and planning. I could only hope that, when the snow starts flying, the ski season gets more desirable. We're going to get a lot more traction on it. I've looked around at other ski packages in the entire region. We're like half the price as some of them. I mean, it's a really, really, really good deal. And like some things, people just have to see it a couple times before they're comfortable going ahead and making that purchase. But we've made that process really easy, and we've kind of, made it to where we're taking over that experience for them. They just have to show up and ski and enjoy Carson City. So we're going to continue putting that out. It's going out again in the newsletter. It goes out weekly on social media. And like I said, it is getting the clicks, but it just hasn't gotten that purchase yet. And to be honest, our ski season really it's not at 100% yet,
And are we doing anything special? Because we are on the other side of the mountain for all our, feeder market, California. But if we look at Boise and look at Elko,
And
look
that
at
is-
those markets, like if we promote ourselves more, that'll be because it's easier for them to come here and go ski rather than somebody from San Francisco to come over the mountain and then come and stay and go back to ski.
And you're absolutely right, and that is what we're doing, is we're reaching out to the markets that are, more to the east, because of the accessibility, but we're still putting it out in San Francisco and Sacramento, and again, putting that awareness out there. But more of our efforts, are going to the east.
I know on the homepage of the website, as soon as we found out about the USA Today, us winning, that it was put on the homepage right away. But do we have a page where we can kind of say, hey, look at what we've been nominated for or what we've won, and just keep, maybe like rotate it almost like you would with a testimonial on a website, but with nominations and what we've won and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a good idea. And we talked about and are incorporating a page of blog posts of Carson in the news. So just pretty much all of the good news centered around Carson City, which would include this, nominations, all that good stuff. So absolutely.
And I'm currently waiting to hear back from USA Today. There's a licensing agreement on how, where, and when we can use their logo. So now, of course, I've already ordered most of the printed, collateral and tablecloths and all of that, but no, being aware of what that license agreement, but I'm waiting for the agreement to come in. So, yeah, we're certainly going to. I'm looking at really kind of pounding it out there in every market that we have for at least 3 months, and then kind of fading back off, but never losing sight of what we continue to get nominated for. 3 months from now, we're going to have something else to celebrate. It might be that Google project. So, yeah. All right. Not seeing any other questions. The last for me is just the fact that our meeting for February will be on the 9th. I'm still looking at wanting to try to push that back, our meeting, to the 3rd week, if it is ever possible to do it in this room. It really is tough, with everything coming in, with all of the room tax revenues and expenses. If we could get to that 3rd week and it worked into everybody's schedules and we could get this room, it would lessen the crunch on the department. So, but for February, we're back here on the 9th.
So you don't want 3rd week in February? You don't want us to look at February 16th?
No, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and work with the Parks Department, with April Livesay, who does the booking, to see availability of the room, and then I'll report back. First, I'll check availability, and we'll bring it back in February, but we'll go 2nd week in February.
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Kyle. Public comment. Any comment on? All right, seeing none. Board comments or announcements? Anything? All right, to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.